From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Morreale and Hitch.
All right, welcome everybody to the Morreale and Hitch podcast. I'm Mike Morreale. That's Rob Hitchcock. He's got his hat eaten by his dog, but he's still wearing it. So we'll get into that later. Listen, buddy, what's going on? This is week whatever, and we're back again. Another special guest today, which is exciting. It has certainly made our podcast much more enjoyable, at least for you and I.
Well, it is true for you and I, because I've been asking some of the guys on my hockey team, and they're like, you guys have been doing podcasts? I said, yeah, we've done 4 in the last month. Oh, we better get on those then. I'm like, okay, that's nice. Nobody knows we're even doing them. Let's go, Botco. We got to get some, we got to get it out there, get the word out there that we're doing this again.
Yeah, buddy. Well, listen, Butko's got lots of other stuff on the go, you know. We're not too sure what it is. So, Cats again, our regular update, sitting at 0-3. Not where you want to be to start the season. What do they got to do, Rob? What do they got to do to turn things around?
We kind of talked about it last week as well when they were 0-2, but 0-3, you can't panic. They've got a lot of games left to go, but still, I mean, concerning that they didn't score. They only scored 3 points in the second half, which is very concerning. Again, going against a phenomenal defense in Winnipeg. You know, Osha's got those guys playing. They're looking pretty good again, Winnipeg. But, I mean, to score 3 points in the second half is just not going to cut it. And I know Coach O and the coaching staff they're addressing that this week. And don't panic. I wouldn't say panic, but, you know, they're not getting killed, but they're finding ways to lose, that's for sure.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a long season, 18 games. And, you know, it's a playoff league, man. I think you and I both know this. You make it to the playoffs, and then anything can happen from there. And it's all about where you end up at the end of the season. Because we may be in week 16, 17, and 18 talking about this in front of our 12 guests, and we won't even remember the 0-3 start. We'll just be talking about what's happening, and hopefully we're talking about some good stuff.
Yeah, and they'll have probably, you know, I'm hoping more than 8 wins, and they might even get in the playoffs. Actually, this year, the way it's going with the East, you got to look at that crossover already. Like, you don't want to start now, but it's crazy how, again, Toronto, we've got to talk about this. How about the quarterback for BC, the Canadian, who just broke the Canadian record for quarterbacks, 436 yards he threw for. They beat Toronto 44-3, pounded them. They were 2-0, and this kid, Rourke.
Yeah, Nathan Rourke.
Wow. Like, he's the deal. He looks good. He reminds me of, like, a little bit of, again, I don't want to say Flutie, but he reminds me of that same kind of body type, a little bit bigger than Flutie was, but could throw the ball upfield, smart, poise in the pocket. He looks good. I like this kid.
I think we got to give him his props, man. This is like a Canadian quarterback. Hasn't happened in forever. I don't care who you talk to, and you can talk about a guy that gets a couple plays here, a couple starts here. You've never had a season start with a starting Canadian quarterback as your number one, like we're seeing in BC. This kid is proving it doesn't matter whether he's Canadian or any other nationality, the kid can play. But you're right, his poise, man. Like I think he's 24, in and around, he's young.
Yeah.
And he's playing like he's 34. Like, the game's slow for him. And that's a sign of a good quarterback.
Put it this way, he's got 103 points he's put up in 2 games.
It's crazy.
Like, come on. Like, it against 2 pretty good defenses. So that's I know it's not just him, it's a team game, but he's throwing the ball. He's quarterbacking out there. I can't wait to see what he's got this week. I'm actually tuning in. If it's a late game, I'm going to watch, but I like what I see out there, that's for sure.
Isn't it funny how, you know, this is kind of, you know, the whole case that, you know, you and I, hometown kids, got a chance to play in our hometown. I mean, that was, doesn't get any better than that. You know, a lot of fans used to come out and support us. And you got this Canadian quarterback. I mean, this is no disrespect to any other, you know, players that come in, international, American, etc. But there's something special about watching a Canadian kid perform well on the biggest stage here in Canada, and I think everybody should support that.
Yeah, and I think BC is now supporting it with the new ownership there. It looks like, you know, the lower bowl looked like there was a, you know, maybe 20,000, maybe 18,000 there, but now with 103 points, 2 home games, like, I'm telling you, they're going to start to, they did the top, they put the big banners up, so you can't. It looks like it holds 50,000 now. That it looks like it's actually full. So I'm actually going to tune in. I don't even know who they're playing this week, but I'm going to tune in no matter what time it is and watch it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, you and I both have a little taste of that with Larry Justanis. Remember back in the day, Larry?
Yep.
No, Larry was a beast. Larry was a 6'5", maybe 6'6", 240-pound rocket of an arm.
Straight drop back. He's not going anywhere.
But could let it rip, and that was kind of our taste of that. I'm trying to think of Chris Flynn. Well, he was special.
Now, Heck Creighton, 4 years in a row or something, and I can't believe he didn't really make it up here. I mean, exactly what Flutie does, same body type, everything. But I guess that was the time when, the Canadian quarterbacks weren't really getting looked at, which is a shame because that guy played against my brother Paul on Acadia.
He was a beast.
Or just after, he was a beast.
Yeah, he was. He played with our buddy there, Noah Cantor, at St. Mary's. And, but I remember watching him play. Believe it or not, his first pro gig was with the Montreal Machine. Do you remember the Montreal? It was the World League, World Football League, or the hell it was called. And they were playing out of Montreal. He actually got some playing time then, but never really got a chance. Typically it's like, okay, we got this great Canadian quarterback. What else can he play? Can he play receiver? Can he play DB? Because we're not going to give him a shot at quarterback. And then you have the other kid at Edmonton, Trey Ford. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy play at Waterloo. He was a quarterback. Him and his what a athlete. This guy can play. So anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, man, that sells tickets. That gets eyeballs. You get this Canadian kid. There's that proud Canadian factor that the CFL's always been about. And I had this sense that over the last few years of all the BS back and forth with management and the PA and COVID and all this other BS, that we lost really the Canadian and the Canadian Football League. But with a guy like Rourke, it actually feels like, okay, this is what it's all about. This is good.
Yeah, I agree. And I have to let the listeners know who are not watching this that Mike is in his backyard. So if you hear birds, he doesn't own 48 budgies in his house. They're actually he's outside with trees around him, so he doesn't own a lot of budgies. He's not sitting in his basement in cages.
Not everybody watches this on our video feed. Yeah, they're probably wondering, what the hell is this guy doing?
They can hear the tweet. Hey, so listen to this. I had an opportunity to go to the Arkells at Tim Hortons Field on Saturday night. I went, 26,000 people there. It was the largest show the Arkells have played in front of. And I guess that went, all the proceeds, or most of the proceeds, went to a basketball kind of a court that they're putting in, a rally. Yeah, they're putting that in Hamilton, which is fantastic, seeing how the Arkells all went to Mac and Hamilton boys, which is really nice to see. And I saw Matty Afnick and I saw Scott Mitchell, and I said to Scott, "Are you scared to come on the show?" He's like, "No, I'll come on next week." I said, "So he could be our special guest. I don't know."
Let's find out.
I said, You're scared to come on." He goes, "I'm not. Oh, come on. You just let me know when." I said, "We've been trying to get you for a year.
Exactly.
You're scared."
Hey, we'll get them on. But the Arkells, they're awesome in concert. Hey, they're awesome live. I only saw pictures. I wasn't able to go, but it was very cool. Now, that rally court you're talking about is already in. So that was put in just a couple of days before the concert, and Superfan Nav came down, and I know it's a really cool piece, and somebody from Canada Basketball, Michael Bartlett, was there, etc. And speaking of the Arkells, Max Kerman is really good friends with Nick Nurse, head coach of the Raptors, as you know.
I was just going to say that because Nick Nurse was like 2 doors down from me, and I saw him, and I'm like, you see him rocking out, and I'm like, what's he doing here? And then I found out that he's really good friends with him.
Very good friend, and they played together.
And did you know that he played? He played with them on stage, guitar, and he's their newest member. That's what they're called. The Arkells are calling him.
So there's the connection of, and it's kind of unfortunate, but this Friday, both the Ticats and actually Team Canada, coached by Nick Nurse, Team Canada Basketball, the men's senior team, are both playing in Hamilton. So we're, from our perspective, the CFL, we're promoting and throwing that game at First Ontario Centre Friday night with the senior men's national team with all the NBA guys. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Jamal Murray will be there. Lou Dort will be there. The list goes on, which is really incredible because it hasn't happened in like 38 years in Hamilton. The only unfortunate thing is it's at the same time as a Ticat game. So wherever you are, tune into the other one, watch it on TV, do something. We're
same time,
in and around the same time.
Yeah.
We had no choice but on the date, so we didn't want to lose the opportunity to bring this to Hamilton. I think it's really important, but
you're still you know that you're not going to get the diehard Ticat fans.
I know that. I know that.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
I must say, it's a little bit of a different crowd. It looks the CFL crowd and the CBL crowd or the basketball crowd are a little bit different, but yeah, we're pumped about that. And the reason that came up is Max, he'll probably be split too. He's not going to know where to go with his relationship with Nick and the Ticats, but more things coming to the city is good. So we're getting close here, buddy. We got another guest in a couple minutes. I don't want to jump the gun because historically, in the last 3 guests we've had, they couldn't even get on the show or couldn't get off the show.
Well, from our last message yesterday, this person, it must be computer savvy because they did a little pre.
I saw the pre.
Did a little pre yesterday, and he got on or she got on right away.
Wow.
So this must be somebody that's good with computers.
We got like a minute to go here. Butko, are you going to give me the thumbs up or what? We're good to go? Okay, here we go. Listen. Better late than never. This is the 4th guest, Rob, we're going to get in a row. Again, you and I have no idea who this person is. We have been surprised now. Just for historically speaking, started with a surprise guest with Darren Flutie like 3 weeks ago, which blew my mind because I didn't expect anything from Darren. Followed up by Danny Mack, who was awesome. And then last week, Joe Mumford. I mean, those are 3 heavy hitters. So either we're going to take this one up a notch, or this is going to go. We'll find out.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll tell you right away what it's going to be.
All right. Without further ado, Butko, would you please let our guest in? Drum roll.
Dave.
Oh my!
Oh, it just upped.
Hacker. What is happening?
Jimmy.
Do I look bald? Should I put a hat on?
Let me see. I'm getting old. Oh, you look handsome.
David.
You look handsome.
Oh, David. What have you been up to?
Oh, my.
Okay, for the people that can't see, we've just been blessed by having Dave Hack on the show. Longtime offensive lineman, all-star, all-around great guy, hell of a player. And he's also got an alter ego named Jimmy. We may or may not get into that at some point. I don't know. I don't think Jimmy's coming out today because it looks like you're sitting at work.
No.
So this is going to be Dave.
Jimmy's been numbed. He's numbed.
He's numb. But Hacker, what's going on, buddy?
Just finishing school. We had graduation last Saturday, so we finished up with school. Our sports were done 2 weeks before that. I'm the athletic director. People, if you guys don't know, I'm the athletic director at a high school down here. I've been here. This is going on to my 12th year. We have 36 sports, 67 teams. There's probably 1,300 kids in the program.
Wow. So
we have a pretty good sized program. We're a good, an outstanding high school in New York. So it's a lot of fun, but it's busy.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've been busy with, and the home life is good. Deborah's doing well. We got a dog, so Willow's doing good. So.
You're the best. You're the best. I love him.
Oh.
Hey, you look like you could still play, like maybe safety. Not in a lineman anymore. You lost some weight.
I tell people I've been. It's you really kind of have to watch what you eat and drink. When you're not burning off the calories like we were, you got to be careful because you'll be balloon up fast. I tell people I could still do a pass, a draw block play, and a backside run. I could definitely do those. So if we run everything away and everything's a draw where I don't really have to touch anybody, I could still do it.
You know who'd take your position now?
What's that?
You know who would take your position because he's a lot bigger than you? Ozzy.
Well, he was always pushing to get on the guard. He was always pushing Burnsy for that right guard spot.
No shoulder pads.
Well, how are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing
good.
You got
the podcast?
This is it. Hey, this is this is the extent that Rob and I are communicating on a regular basis, which is perfect, by the way. But many people don't know you are in the Buffalo area. Whereabouts are you? You're not too far.
No, I'm in Orchard Park.
Yeah.
So our district is the Bills Stadium is actually in our district. So we're Orchard Park, which is not it's south of Buffalo pretty much. It's a pretty good, we're a pretty good suburb and a good sized district. But yeah, right outside of Buffalo. That's where I grew up. I grew up in my mom's family owns a dairy farm in a town probably 10 minutes away, which they actually just sold. My uncle just my uncle
Are you
just
retired?
sold the farm.
Are you going to retire?
Yeah, well, he's 75 years old.
No, you.
Oh yeah, I'm going to retire now. No, it went to the wrong part of the tree. but they're retiring.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Hey, so
awesome.
A lot of people who remember you remember like how dominant you were on the field. Like you were a bit of an animal. Like where did that come from? Like where did that? Because right now, if they're listening to you or watching you, they're like, "Who is this guy? Didn't play professional football. He's too." And I'm even trying to figure out who the hell you are at the moment. But I know you're in your office. So, but why don't you tell us where that edge came from? What kind of? How about a little bit about your journey? How you got to the CFL?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Buffalo area, played football, and football's always been important to me. As a kid, I remember I actually told this story yesterday when I went to a high school that didn't have football. And when I was a freshman in high school, I was probably 5'11", 220 pounds, just a little blob of a kid. And our guidance counselors would bring us in. They're like, "Oh, what do you want to do when you go there?" I said I wanted to be a professional football player. And she kind of laughed at me. And I was a soccer goalie. And it was just kind of a dumpy little turd. And she laughed at me, and it really stuck in my feathers. And I was kind of like, that lady was a dream smasher, and I didn't like that. And I of course grew, and then I got a chance to play football, and I went to a pretty good high school in Buffalo, outside of Buffalo, and went to the University of Maryland and had a pretty good career there. And I always kind of had that little edge. Like, I always, when I would prepare and go into a game, I would write "be the best" on my BTB because I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the best I could.
I thought it was "bring the booze."
I wanted to be the best.
That's what I thought that said.
That was more Philly. Philly was the "bring the booze" guy. He and his margaritas. But I got when I was at Maryland, when I first got there, the offense we ran was more of a power tight end, H-back, pound guys. Frank Wycheck, who played for the Titans, was a tight end. So I went there as a tight end.
Oh, did you? I didn't even know
Frank,
that.
Yep. Yeah. When you watch Frank run and catch and jump, and you're like, I can be the 8th-string tight end, or I can go be an offensive lineman. And they recruited me as a tight end offensive lineman because I was a bigger kid. And so I started playing O-line, and then the coach ended up getting fired, and the new guy that came in and ran the run and shoot. And the run and shoot was big at the University of Houston and big with the Houston Oilers. And John Jenkins was the head coach or the offensive coordinator at those schools. So when I got done playing at Maryland, I had to try out with the Dolphins, and then the CFL team, Roy Shivers was actually the GM in Birmingham, called and said, "Hey, we'd like you to come down. We've had a couple guys get hurt. We want you to come down and play. And, we know you know the offense because it's very similar to what you ran in college." So I went down there, and, John was the offensive coordinator, and Jack Purdy was the head coach. We had, and I got there, and, of course, the guys got healthy, so I was on the practice squad for, 4 or 5 weeks in Birmingham. They had good linemen. They had good players. So, Freddie Childress was down there. Thomas Ram was down there. Like, there were some, solid dudes who were playing, and I was just, it was my first experience. I kind of chuckled because when I got there, they gave me a half shirt with a maple leaf on it, and they had pitters. And I'm like, I'm not sure what I just walked into, but okay. So anyway, after that season, the team folded, the American teams in the CFL folded, and I actually got to try out with the Bills and went to camp with the Bills in '96, and then got cut at the end of training camp, And I got a call. It was from Mike McCarthy, just out of the blue. Hey, yeah, out of the blue. He's just like, hey, we had a couple guys get hurt. I think, was it Dwayne Morgan? Was he the tackle?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, he had gotten hurt, and he was going to be out for a while, and they needed somebody to get there now because it was probably Tuesday or Wednesday. And he's like, if you can be here by 12, you know, he called me at 9 o'clock. If you can be here by 12:30 for practice, you might, you know, we'll put you on the roster. You might be able to play. I'm like, all right. So I hopped in my car and drove from Holland, New York to Hamilton, hopped out and did my, you know, practice, a couple of one-on-ones. I knew the offense because Jenkins was the offensive coordinator. So it was a pretty, you know, easy fit for me. And then we played, the first game we played against Winnipeg. It was at home. And then the second game we played in Regina, and that's where I met Bobby Jurison, who was a pretty good player. And then the second game was actually in Montreal, and that's when they had Alfred Payton, they had Doug Peterson, and then Grant Carter. Was Grant Carter might have been the other defensive end?
I know Carter for sure. Yeah, it was Grant Carter.
So those guys were good, and you know, Anthony was our quarterback, and he was good. You know, and we had a good, you know, Hamilton has always had good defenses, you know, and the guys were good dudes. I just remember, you know, I remember Hitch, you know, I don't know if you were playing or if you were hurt, but I remember you being there. And then the guys that I really remember were Philly and Mike Campbell.
Oh, how can you forget those guys?
They were good, but they were the Meatball Brothers, but they were good guys.
Assholes.
Yeah.
You can say it.
Yeah, you can. I can't in my office, but yeah, you can. But they were good. They were like, they made you feel like you were part of the team. Like I was just some dork American guy that rolled in, had no idea what end was up, pulled into that little parking lot behind the stadium, crammed my car into something, you know, one of the worst. But it was fun. And then after, you know, when then Dwayne got back and got healthy, came back, I went to actually ended up getting released and then signed back on with the Bills practice squad, finished the season with the Bills. I was actually on the sideline when we lost the playoff game to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jim Kelly got concussed, and you know, but I was a practice squad guy. I had a blast. I mean, I'm a Buffalo kid. It was fun just being there, and the guys loved hearing my stories. They would, you know, game day, you know, I'd be rolling in, and they would be getting ready for a game, and they would love to hear the talk of what I had been doing. So I was always the entertainment for those guys. But they were good guys. And then, you know, in '97, I didn't come back up, and then '98, you know, I had a off-season call, and it's funny because Pat Perlis, he called me, and he was like, blah, 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 and he was like, all right, Sheldon, good talking to you. We'll see you at training camp. And Sheldon Chuck was a guy that was playing O-line for us. Sheldon actually ended up playing in Saskatchewan for 10 years. He was a heck of a player. He played at Iowa State, but they were trying to make him an O-lineman in Hamilton. But and then Pat called me back and goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I called you the wrong name. And then, you know, so anyway, you know, fast forward to probably the fourth week of the season, we're sitting in the office. You had talked about my nickname, Jimmy, and we're sitting in the meeting room, and Pat is talking about, you know, Jimmy, you know, you got to get to this guy. You got to cut this guy off. And we're all like, I don't know who the hell you're talking about, but okay, like, because there's somebody in the line named Jimmy, and so Val St. Germain was in the meeting room, and you know, Pat said, Jimmy, like, you got to get this guy. And he, like, we're like who the hell's Jimmy? and so Val was like, Pearls or Pat, you know, that's Dave. And then he goes, oh, sorry. And then it just became, you know, the Jimmy from Seinfeld.
Yep.
Like, Jimmy likes to block, and you know, so it just kind of became that. But no, you know, back to the point, you know, yes, that was a long answer to a short question, but. I always knew that there were certain things I could control. One was my effort, you know. Two was knowing the plays, and three was my intensity. And I knew that I wasn't, you know, the most gifted, and I wasn't the strongest. I wasn't the, you know. But if you combine the three things that I knew I was good at, then, you know, I could play the game. And you know, Hamilton really fit. Like, I think back to the plays, and I think back to that '98 year. And I don't know if it was, you know, Ronnie or RD or Danny, but the plays just fit for me. Like, I knew, like, you know, Zebra was the zone and Tiger was the zone with the Nick block on the backside.
Yep.
Because the I in Tiger. Like, so I knew that you were going to be there, or Archie was going to be there, or somebody was going to be there. So I didn't have to stay with the end. Like, it was just little things. Like, I just, you know, and Pop and Pepsi. Pepsi we slid right. So I knew I had the end man on the line of scrimmage. And Pop was we slid left, the odd side. So I knew that I had to get to number 5. So it fit well, and you know, we had a great that window of time there was a pretty special window of time for us, and you know, the guys were fantastic, and it was a good group of people, and it's something where like, yeah, I know we laugh about it, but like it was a pretty special time in my life, and I'm sure your life. So it was a good group of people.
Absolutely, buddy. That was quite the answer, buddy. Jeez,
yes.
I didn't know that's where Jimmy came from. Of all these years, I didn't know that's where it came from Perlis.
Yes.
Now, how old do you think Perlis was when he was coaching us?
I don't know. He was probably. I mean, we were probably. I mean, I think Carl might have been older.
Yeah, like Pearls was young, and his dad, as you would know, being an American player, his dad was the bomb, right? George Perlis, right? Long time, Michigan or Michigan State. Where was he at?
Michigan State.
Yeah, he was.
And he coached for the Steelers. Yeah, George was. He was. I mean, he was supposedly a player's coach. I actually did a football officials clinic. That's something I'm doing now. Is I officiate high school and some college football down here. It's kind of, I'll get into that a little bit, but anyway, like there's a lot of George Perlis stuff in the camp. The clinic was actually outside. It was in Lansing, Michigan, and there was a lot of stuff in there in the Michigan State field house and complex. Like what if you want to talk about a facility?
Oh, I can imagine. Hey, listen, you got Under Armour behind you. You went to Maryland. Hitch, you went to Maryland. You played with G-Roy? I can't remember.
Kevin.
G-Roy was there, wasn't he, though, at that time? Or just
G-Roy was a freshman or a sophomore my senior year.
But you played with Kevin.
G-Roy's
I'm going to forget his last name.
Plank.
Kevin Plank, who is the founder of Under Armour. And
he is.
Is it a true story that you were approached early on from Kevin to maybe invest at that time, like $5,000-$10,000 into Under Armour?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Tell the story, Hacker. Tell the story.
I mean, there was a time there where they were struggling. I mean, they were a newfound business, and I mean, Kevin was a hustler. Kevin is and was and is smart, and I tell the story when I talk to different things. He used to sell roses at Valentine's Day.
Really?
1999 roses, and we would hustle all around campus selling these roses, and guys would be packaging them, and guys would be running the credit cards, guys would be, and at the end of the night, he'd give us $300 and be like, sweet. We'd head down to the local establishment, and, we made $300 and he probably made $30,000.
Wow.
That was just the thinker. I mean, I'm probably not 30, but probably 15. And, he just was a thinker like that. So when we were in college, Champion was the big name.
Yeah.
And so we had these heavy gray T-shirts. We actually had like a spandexy bottom they were like a biker short. So essentially, he figured out the material to make a T-shirt, because we used to have these heavy gray T-shirts. And if during training camp, you're sweating and it's heavy and it's gross and
heavy.
So he came up with that, and it was him, and Kip Folks was the other guy that he started with. There was a third guy that kind of fizzled out for them, but it was pretty much he and Kip, and they were. Kevin's family had a place in Georgetown, which is right outside of Washington, D.C., that they were, using as their office. And, they were struggling. They were looking for investors. They were looking for people to, put things in. And, I was a kid who had my first, $500 and was excited and wasn't even thinking of that. But, there were, again, it could have gone the other way, right? It could have been $500 that I gave to, $1,000 I gave to a friend that I never got back. So I just, I mean, I and again, like I probably at some point could have gotten involved with their company, but I didn't want to be down there, and I wanted to be a pro football player.
Yeah.
I also passed on an opportunity to be a quality control guy with the New England Patriots
in
2000.
When was that?
Yeah. 2000 or 2001.
Really? I didn't know
Brian Dable, the current head coach with the Giants. Yeah.
Jimmy keeps those things to himself. He doesn't let a lot of people know. We don't know a lot about that. That's the eyebrow raising. We know.
Yeah. So, but I'm a homebody. I like being at home. My family's here, and I like being here, and I know that. But anyway, it was 2001 maybe. It was right after we had a pretty good year. It was 2001, and New England was just coming together, and they were looking for quality control guys.
Wow!
And Brian was like an assistant to an assistant. Brian was an assistant with them, and they had openings. And I think the guys they hired would have been the McDaniel guy and the Patricia, the guy with the beard. I think they hired those two guys. But I was making good money, and to go from making good money to making $12,000 trying to find an apartment in Boston, like.
Hey, Hacker, you would have a few $100 million in the bank right now. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You wouldn't have
No.
a Grey Cup, 99 Grey Cup. A few $100 million or that what is it,
Well,
an $8,000 ring that we had to pay tax on, that they wanted us to pay tax on?
I think
It's all
of that,
good,
though.
buddy. It's all good.
But Brian was a high school classmate of mine. So Brian Dable was a couple years behind me at the high school I went to. And, he obviously he's doing well. He's head coach for the Giants. He's a great guy. He's going to do great things. Like, they got to get their roster turned around. But yeah, no, that was just one of, but again, I had just met my wife. I was making good money. I didn't really want to go to Boston. And,
There you go.
that's a hard life.
Oh,
Those guys
yeah.
have,
It all worked out in
coaching
the
is
end,
a
Hacker.
hard-
Look at you now. You're sitting there. You're running a major program down in Orchard Park.
Yeah.
You're looking good. You got a
looking
dog. You got a dog.
You got a dog?
Dog's not named
Hang on.
Jimmy.
no. Hang on.
Same kind, Hacker, as your last one.
Oh,
Beautiful.
see?
That's
Beautiful.
Willow.
Look at that,
Willow.
Hacker. Now,
Bernice Mountain Dog.
now,
No,
Hacker,
but I've learned. I've been doing different reading things, and it's like, hey, we all make choices, and I'm confident with what I've done, and I'm like, oh man, I would really like to get into but the not being able to control the winning and the losing and the tensity, that was part of at the end. I was so frustrated. I just wanted to win, and I just, I did things because I wanted to win, and when you get to a point where you're like, I don't know how we're going to win a game, and we had a couple seasons like that, and that was hard to. You talk Hitch about the whole paying tax on the ring, and that's kind of something here as the athletic director. I try to make sure that our kids can be kids and play.
Yeah.
I try to make it so the coaches can coach and don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
We do have some transportation stuff, but I just remember going to I don't know if it was a 98 or 99 Grey Cup. I was so
Hacker.
mad.
Can you remember? You remember
I
that?
was
Get
so
on the
mad
bus. Angry. You know what? You let people know. We've talked about it, but let people know what we're talking about.
Mad.
Just talking about having to pay, he wasn't sure winning the Eastern Final was good because now he had to pay more money, something to the effect of
Yes.
that. And you're like,
It would cost more to go to the Grey Cup.
We're going to the Grey Cup, and it's like, just be excited.
Yeah, we were 2 and
'cause you know what?
16 the year before, or whatever the hell, 4 and 14. We were horrendous in '97, and now you're complaining about us going to the Grey Cup a year later. Just incredible.
Because you got to give us, oh my God.
And it's, I don't know, it was, the league was, and shoot, 3 years later we're bankrupt. And I remember thinking with Ron, you're like, man, Coach Lancaster, what are you so mad about? And you look back at it, and you're like, I get why you were so mad. Ronnie had an idea that he wanted it a certain way, and he wanted us to be able to play and not worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And that, I just think of the 99 Grey Cup. We roll in, and there's 47 of us, and Calgary's got 87. And Wally asked Ronnie where's the rest of the team was, and he's like, "What do you? This is it."
This is all we got.
This is it. Don't get hurt.
But we didn't.
Nope.
I mean, that was a special thing about that group. Guys would play through a snapped finger and a broken this and a whatever, because guys wanted to. It meant something to be part of that group.
Yep. You didn't want to miss out, right? Didn't want to miss out on that
No.
group.
So Hacker, we've talked about this, Mike and I, in the last couple of weeks. So I was had an opportunity. I was talking with a couple of people in the organization with the Cats last week, and tomorrow they're meeting for the committee's meeting to see who's going to be going up on the wall this year.
Oh, nice.
So there's some talk.
Here's a
there's
guy
some
right
talk.
here.
That's what I'm bringing up. So I'm thinking, we talked. Danny Mac's got to be up there at some point. You, Hacker, with your years play and your community service and just the person you are, your name is got to be in that conversation as well for the next, whether it be this year or any of the other year from coming on. But it's you deserve that, pal. I mean, I'm up there a couple of years ago, and
I'm not.
It was real. Meetsy's not there because he's in Toronto. He got to Toronto. He's gone.
Are you in Toronto now? Me?
No, he's trying to say.
The Argos.
Going back and forth. The back and forth you did.
This is apparently
The old switcheroo.
My 8 years don't count, eh? Just the just the 4 I left matter, not the 8 years I did blood,
Canadian
sweat,
Player of
and
the
tears.
Year, Canadian MVP.
You know your
Grey Cup,
name's
that
up
doesn't
there
count.
too. Your name's
I
in
just-
there
under.
too.
No, but I got to be honest. I think it's a consensus amongst everybody that Danny Mac and Dave Hack got to be on there. They got Ozzy's on there, well deserved. Hitch is on there, obviously well deserved. Steiny on there? No, Steiny's in the Hall of Fame. He's not on the wall. Joe, of course.
Mumford.
Joe. And I think that's the extent of it from our group.
That's it,
But holy shit, Hacker, you know how many guys we played with that deserve to be up there. And not all of us are going to get up there.
There were a lot of,
we had a lot of guys.
unsung hero guys that we played with that meant a lot. I was thinking when Dave called and said we were going on, I was just thinking of some of the guys that, your Calvin Tiggle, Gerald Vaughn,
Coulter.
You think of like kind of the fall out of our team was, losing Calvin, losing Gerald, and then Joe Hagen's getting hurt.
Yeah.
That really affected that group. And then, we had the Ottawa expansion, so you lost Carl and Seth. Big Seth was a, hard worker and was always doing all sorts of odd stuff in the weight room, but he was he was always ready to go.
The funny thing... Go ahead. Go ahead. It's
yeah, no, I think the criteria, from going to the Hall of Fame, and having your numbers and your years played and your Grey Cups and that, and then going on the wall at your stadium, it's definitely years played. So I think some guys that have played 2 or 3 years maybe might not get that opportunity because of the years played. But I think, how long did O play for? Only like 3, I think.
Yeah. He didn't play a long time. But then again, Les Brown got on the wall and only played a handful of years in Hamilton. So it's you never know, right? You never know how it works. But Hacker, you played how many? 7, 8, 9. That many, eh?
I knew that.
9. Wow, 9 years in Hamilton.
Snuck it out. Yeah.
9 years in Hamilton's like 47 years in real life.
That's right. I mean, look at me. I'm gray. Grade me. Made me gray.
But okay, let's talk about that for a bit.
I loved Hamilton. Hamilton was our place.
But
even the stadium, the locker room, leaking by my locker. I love that about that locker room. Like, that was my spot.
That was the thing.
You and Jerry Kraft.
I love the in the bathroom they had in the shower. They had those little like plastic things hanging down, like the cow, like in my uncle's dairy farm. So they were the fly things to knock the flies off the cows and they'd walk through.
The fly tape.
Yeah.
But you did this. A lot of people don't know. You didn't live in Hamilton for some years. Some years you did, but for many years you literally drove back and forth to Buffalo, and that was before 9/11 and all that stuff. So what was that like? Like, what would you? Hey, did you see at the border? Like, wave to the guys and drive in. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, there were a lot of guys that I would see going back and forth. They would see me coming, and you would just explain. I mean, I wasn't. Again, I'm a pretty straight arrow, squeaky clean guy, so I'm not doing anything silly with my easy, and of course then they had the Nexus Pass, and now they have a couple, so it made it easy to get across. But yeah, no, that was, the first year I did it, because I didn't, in 96, because I didn't know how long I was going to be there. In 98, I was, should I get an apartment? I had a good place to stay down here. I had my place down here, and then 99, I actually had a place in Grimsby.
That's
Loved
right.
Grimsby.
Yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, I love Grimsby. I mean, to me, Grimsby is
awesome.
A great town.
Awesome.
What a great town Grimsby is.
And you were also, a lot of people don't know, but you also, used to ride behind Darren on the way home just to make sure he made it home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was his, designated driver behind him, right?
Yeah.
Well, he would get lost. I mean, he was bad.
Oh,
he would just get distracted and be going the wrong way.
Or just go
right
around
around
the
the street.
car. Just go right back to Boston with the Saturn.
Yeah. He was fun, though. I mean, we used to play. He would shoot over. We played cribbage. It was fun. It was kind of cool having him in Grimsby.
Absolutely.
Speaking about cribbage. Remember playing on the plains, and then if you got double skunked, you had to crawl down the aisleway of the plane. And I'll never forget Hacker in his suit. He got double skunked, and he's going down, and we're not on a charter, so we're with regular people on a flight, and Hacker's crawling from the front to the back, and he's stopping, lifting his leg up on his knees and peeing like a dog, pretending to pee on people, and they're just looking at us like,
I'm sure they were kind of like, huh.
Yeah, what's going on?
Can you imagine being on the?
Can you imagine doing that now? Can you imagine?
Can you imagine being in the middle seat between me and Gary Brown?
Jerry Kraft
or Craftsy and Mihalik. Can you imagine being between those two guys?
Oh my god! But what good! Every time we went on a road trip, we got on a bus, we hung out at Brian Timmis, or before a game, after a game, before practice. Like it was family. Like it was outstanding.
Yes.
It was outstanding. And we played with a ton of amazing players. And we played against a ton of amazing players. And there's one guy that you played against, you already know who it is, that you had epic battles with. Epic. Now, there's more than one, but there's one in particular, and I think you know who we're talking about. That's Mr. Michael O'Shea. You and him had something. You had a huge level of respect for one another, but, man, when that whistle went, you were, like, insane.
Yeah.
How did that all play out?
Came out?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Well, I mean, he was the best of the best. I mean, he was a bigwig, and it's still to be the best, you got to beat the best, and he was the best. So he was the leader of that defense. He was, he was the quarterback on that defense. So just like he was going after our quarterback, I was going after him. It would have been that. So any chance I got to get a little extra something on him, I took it, and so did he. I mean, I can never forget. I mean, one of the last games I played up there, I got hit in the lower abdominal region by him right in front of an official, and they didn't call it. I was so mad.
Did you have the chin? Were you leaning forward?
He missed, of course, because he missed. But.
Well, it's hard to hit.
It's hard to hit.
But no, he had, he was an intense guy, and he was intelligent and played with a certain level of toughness. And, again, he was the leader of that defense, and I would just listen and try and get his calls. And, man, if they left me uncovered and I got a chance to run right at him, I took it. Because he was always watching something else. He wasn't watching me.
But a lot of people also don't know, Dave, that you're like basically deaf in one ear, right?
I am.
So is that the deaf, right ear? Yeah. I always forget.
It is the right. So that's why I played right tackle.
That's right.
That's why my earbuds are my left ear.
That's why I remembered. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't hear out of my right ear. I haven't, it's something that it's been like that since I've been a kid, and I just kind of figured it out, right? Like I didn't need to, as a right tackle, especially in the CFL, everybody's over here. Yep. I didn't need to worry about, anybody over here. Maybe a Ray Thomas and a Ryan Donnelly, but I didn't really need to worry about them.
And remember coming up and getting all the physicals. I'm sure you didn't disclose that.
No, of course not. What was the doctor in '96?
Charters. No.
Was that right?
I think it was
Charters.
That nice green tile in that office.
Oh,
yeah.
Awful.
Turn your head.
Throw your leg up on my lap. He was scraping the pills off that were stuck to his palm.
Yeah, no glove on and cough, eh?
Yeah,
put your balls in, no glove, and then put the pills off and scrape them off. Oh my God.
Oh man, but no, yeah. Osh was a heck of a player. Alfred was. I love playing against Alfred. Like those guys, again, when we had the horses, it was fun to go play those guys. It was hard when we weren't as talented, And I know, like we talk about having fun, but it was hard when when we were. I didn't care about all the extracurricular stuff when
you're losing,
because guys
Winning
knew how to play.
Everything.
Guys knew how, but guys knew how to cut it out and play.
Yeah.
And when we weren't winning, guys were still into that. The newer guys were into that. It's like, you guys haven't figured out how to play the game yet.
Yeah, you had to earn that.
You might want to
right?
figure out how to play the.
You had to earn that.
You might want to figure out how to play the game.
I can tell you from a defensive side, playing against you two and our offenses that we had just made us so much better as well, because we were so prepared going into some games because of you guys, and it was always a pleasure to play. We always got on under each other's skin. I know Hacker and I, we had some fun stuff. I used to tell Coach Lancaster I got to go to the cottage once. I had to leave early to practice, and Hacker's like, "What the fuck? Why does he get to leave early for practice and we all have to stay here?" Remember that?
Or the one day you got
so mad.
Michelle called in, you were sick.
I was sick.
Right. He's still mad.
You still remember it. Jimmy still remembers that.
I sure do. I tell people, how many days I missed.
Peek out just a little bit.
You know how many days I missed as a football player from practice? My entire career? For illness? None.
You tell him, Hacker.
Sick. I was on my way up to the cottage.
Yeah. Sick.
The other one that drove me. The other one that drove, I think back to it, was you two guys wanting to do the Tell Us golf tournament.
Really? What happened?
Because you were going to get free iPhones, and you wanted Greg Marshall was going to move practice. I'm like,
the Bell tournament? Really?
He was mad.
Oh, he's still mad.
No, like, I mean, you got to, because you got to start it off with something different than, hey, we want to do this golf tournament because we're getting free cell phones.
Yeah.
How about you start off hey, we want to do this golf tournament, we're going to buy you guys lunch. Everyone will be like, sweet, perfect. We don't care. We'll practice whatever.
Think about that, matey.
We weren't the smartest guys, all the time.
No.
Well, you were. You were the smartest guys.
Maybe we were.
It was one of those little things where when you're, sitting in your little chair with your leaky roof, you're kind of like,
Yeah. Well.
Oh,
we got away with a few things, but we still won.
Of course.
So
No. So, Packer, you were
of it.
part of a team, and it's got to be. I'm pretty positive it's a CFL record, and that's giving up 8 sacks in one season.
Yeah.
Now, that is insane. There are some teams that have given up 8 sacks in one game. We're talking about 8 sacks in the entire season. Now, you can tell us exactly why. Obviously, you had great guys lined up beside you, but you had a guy named Danny McManus who, like, come hell or high water, that ball was coming out. And if that meant it hit me in the back of the head because I didn't turn around in time, that was just part of it.
Yeah, he was ripping it.
But how did that all play out? Like, that's unheard of, Dave.
He was ripping it. Now, it became one of those things where, obviously, Danny with being able to throw the ball fast, but once you kind of got established, defenses were kind of like, I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
I mean, the guy would make the best. I remember whiffing on a guy and like the ball's gone. So then the next time the guy's like, all right, like now I got. And it really gave you a chance, like, to do different things technique-wise as a player, just because you knew that he was, for the most part, going to have the ball when it was needed to be gone. But we worked well together. We had a pretty good group. It was Seth, it was Tim Princeton, Carl, and Bernsey. And, we were a pretty intelligent group that knew where to be, and you might get, overpowered here or there, but you knew where to be. And as long as Danny knew where the free guy was coming from, he was going to get rid of the ball. And it was I don't think if you watch some of the films, there were guys not even getting close to him the last 5 games of the season, including the playoffs and the Grey Cup. And, that was a pretty special group. And we also had, great receivers with you and Darren, and I think it was Corey, and I don't know who
Greg? Andrew.
Greg.
Andrew.
Yeah.
How can I forget it? Andrew.
Oh, if he sees this, you're in
Oh
trouble.
my God, he's already texting me.
He's texting you. Yeah.
But no, and then you had Ronnie. Ronnie running the ball. So and Archie. We had a good group of you guys. You guys knew where to be. So Danny knew when he was throwing the ball, you guys were there.
Yeah, it seemed, at that point in time, playing football seemed so easy. And then the years that you struggle, it seems so hard. Like there was something about those few years, and I still, honest to God, on a regular weekly basis, pop into my head and say, "Damn it, we couldn't keep those freaking guys together for a couple more years. Like we couldn't have gone back in 2000 and 2001, and maybe because Steiny leaves for a little bit of money because we weren't giving it to him, and Gerald leaves for a little bit of money, and Tiggs goes and." It really bothers me to this day that we could have had something special, and it felt like a few $1,000s got in the way, and not from a player's perspective, from an owner's perspective.
Like Winnipeg has right now.
Yeah, we could have kept going.
Yeah.
Could have kept going.
And we were close. I mean, 2001, we were.
We should have been there.
Were we not on the goal line?
First down on the
2000 on the one.
And then Dwayne Ford's on the sidelines. Danny tries to couple quarterback sneaks.
I don't know why we get it. What was the name of the package where we had 2 fullbacks and the running back?
Yeah.
You brought Warren in.
And Dwayne Ford would have came in. And they didn't. They tried to. And Danny's not a sneaking quarterback. He just does not enjoy doing it as Ford.
Yeah. No. And I mean, but you think I do think of that too. Like obviously you're not going to be able to pay everybody, but I think not knowing what you know now, but like with the finances of the organization, they always kind of made you feel like, I don't know, like come to me and say, great job, here's an extra something.
There was no extra back then, right? We played before Bob Young.
You could have kept some of those guys, but again, that whole crew. And then obviously, Joe getting hurt, Hagen's hurt too.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know how good Joe Hagens was. Joe Hagens might have been one of the best all-around football players that I've ever been around. This is a guy that could play linebacker. that could rush off the end, that could play safety, that could catch, that could return kicks. Crazy.
He made a good catch in Montreal, didn't he?
Yeah, amazing athlete. Unbelievable.
It was a punt or a kickoff where he ran down, was covering it, and
it was on a kickoff.
Hit his shoulder.
And it just went numb.
He went through the wedge on a kickoff. He went through the wedge and just hit sideways and went down, and that was it. It was awful to see.
But you lose a young guy like that. You lose Kelvin. You know, like the other thing we had in the 98, 99 teams, we have great leadership.
Yeah.
We had Carl. You know, when Carl was on, Carl was one of the best
Carl was, ever. When he was locked in, he was locked in.
He was great.
And when he wasn't, you got the hell out of the way.
What's Carl's name? What's Carl's name on our chat? Lamont.
When he was, you know, when bad Carl was around, you just stayed away from him. I mean, but he was great. I mean, and that's okay. You know, he would have some. Everybody has that. It's hard. Like you guys are in leadership roles. It's hard to be a leader all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to. It was hard to. You know, Ron Lancaster was, you know, the best coach I probably played for, but was also a tough individual. He was a tough guy to read. You didn't get close to Ron. Like, you didn't get close. He was close with Tiggs. Like, there were certain guys that he had the ultimate faith in, obviously Danny and Darren, but you can never really get too close to them, right? Why do you think that was?
I think it was because in his, I use a line that he said, I heard him say it, and he might have said it to Bernie Custis, but he said, I don't discuss personnel with personnel. I think part of it was because at some point he was going to have to cut you, trade you, or sit you down, and that's not an easy thing to do when you're chummy with somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think he had his guys. He had, you know, Calvin, and he had Orlando, and he had, you know, he liked O'Shea when he came, and he liked, you know, obviously Danny and Darren, and he loved Carl. Those were his guys.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the ball, Sudsy had me, Phil Brick, Campbell. He had
Tiggs. He liked Tiggs.
Tiggs. He had his few guys, and the rest of the guys were on the QEW in 2 minutes if you didn't do your job.
I think of that, though. Think of that relationship. Like, think of the pride and the humility that both those two guys.
To come together and coach together. Oh, that was massive.
That was.
And you know, Sudsy could be hard, and you know, think of Ron. Like, I got this guy who was the former head coach as the defensive coordinator, and
that took a lot.
Yeah.
Just goes to show the success he had over his career as a player and as a coach. It was awesome.
But I think that was part of the thing with Ron. And I think, again, he saw a lot of guys come and go, and you know, I mean, I think he cared about us, but it's hard. Like, you know. Yeah.
But he always said that, you know, the best thing I think he ever said to us at the start of every year was, I want the same guys in the locker room, these same guys at the end of the year. And to your point about going to freaking, you know, BC to play against Calgary in 2009, or pardon me, 1999 with 40-something guys, which is unheard of. Now you're carrying rosters of 65, 70 guys, no problem. We had nobody extra. So,
but I think that was a nice. But again, I didn't mind doing that.
Nope.
I mean, I got a little annoyed when you turn around and Val, Carl, and Burnsy are back there goofing around, and Seth and I are dragging, and Princeton is dragging, right?
But we didn't.
Marty Arsenal and myself.
Oh my God.
But, we didn't know any better, though. I don't even think we knew we had 47 guys. That was our team. That's what we didn't know any better, right?
No. But I think Mike, you said that about when at the preseason, the first meeting, about how this is our team. Once we start the season, unless guys get hurt, this is the team I want to continue to play. And like that was kind of, you know, I had come from, you know, down here where it's like you have one bad practice and there's three guys standing there behind you. You're like,
yeah.
So it was nice. That was kind of a nice. Okay, I can have a not relax. We still competed and we worked hard and we, you know. But I liked his practices. I mean, I think back to our practices where, you know, here's the number of plays we got to get done.
Yep.
If it takes you 2 hours, it takes you 2 hours. If it takes you 45 minutes, it takes you 45 minutes.
Yeah,
you guys figure it out.
Yeah. And he loved his rundown days. That was the one thing that Ronnie loved. You got to get your run. You got to run around that field God knows how many times, 12 times or whatever it was. I hated every step. But I knew that there was ice cold beer and a DJ or something afterwards sitting in the back of a pickup truck. So, man, Acker, we can go on and on. We gotta wrap up because I don't know about Hitch, but I got a job and I have to go to work. And you got
How's
a
the
job.
basketball going, Mike? I'm waiting to get the franchise down here in Buffalo.
I know. Well, we'll see what you could do, buddy. It's going amazing. It's going amazing. So now that the border seems to be back to normal, we'll get you up here. We got to get you up for a game anyways and hang out and shoot the shit and do all that good stuff. But, Hacker, I love
tried coming over during the summer. I had to my finances stuff's in with Meridian Credit, so I was going over, and I didn't realize that I had to have a COVID test. So I drive across the border because obviously they don't check you when you go from the States to Canada. And the guy's like, "Do you have this?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, what are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm going to the bank." He's like, "Yeah, but you got to have this and this. You haven't done a COVID." I said, "No." He goes, "You got to just take the sheet of paper and you got to go back over." So I just looked back around. I was like, "Thank God they didn't pull me over and have me sit there for 3 hours."
Oh, crazy, man. Crazy world, but it seems to be getting better. Hacker, you made today better, buddy. Love seeing you, fella. Say hi.
Great seeing you, boys. Hopefully we'll see you again.
All right, to Deborah and Willow.
See you, fellas.
See you, boys.
You've been listening to Morreale and Hitch, literally the worst podcast we have on the Ticats audio network. While they may not, we value your feedback. Let us know your thoughts by email. Hit mnh@ticats.ca. For the latest on your Hamilton Tiger Cats, subscribe to the Ticats audio network on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.